Welcome back, everybody. Welcome back to the Canyon. Welcome back to another installment of It Came from the live stream here from the Canyon, the house of the bespoke builders of ships. Thesian, the ship of Theseus. Like they replaced the mast and they replaced all the boards. Does the original ship remain? That is pertinent today, relevant today, because during the most recent live stream relative to the recording of what I'm doing right now, we quote unquote built this. It is not so much built as it is how one would make a soup or stew with whatever they had in their cabinets. So it is incredibly representative of what is typically done around here. Will it go fast reliably? I don't know. Will it crawl at all? I don't know. It is leftovers and cast-offs and freshly bought drive shafts and a freshly bought servo and gearbox. There's the rear axle is brand new, has only been turned on the bench. It is an IFS1 with all Element IFS1 with all the trick out bits. It's got the Knight Customs lowering in the front. It's got the STRC lowers. This isn't a sales pitch. As this is being recorded, and I know time doesn't exist on YouTube, but this vehicle is to be given away as of the posting of this in about 20 hours from when this is live. When this is live, which again I know doesn't occur on YouTube, this will be given away. The Sliding into March Festival, which is a cool name, but the only thing this thing will be missing is a radio and a receiver. So transmitter and a receiver, well, and a battery. But it's got wheels and tires and all of the stock takeoff electronics from a Vanquish RTR, the VM1, the VS1, and the VE1. I think I got that right. It's got some wheels that were sent in by the kind-hearted followers of the Canyon. It's got some tires, Goodyear Wrangler MTR, sent in by the good-hearted followers of the Canyon. It's got J-Concepts medium foams in it. These are the shocks off the takeoff of an RTR base camp. So what we have here is, in effect, this was the front end off of an Element Trail Runner. So what we have here, aside from things like drive shafts and the gearbox, because the gearbox is this kind, it does a little trick. We can stop that back one. It's a lot of RTR stuff, and a lot of RTR stuff is not the best stuff. But a lot of RTR stuff when combined together is not the worst stuff. So what? Okay. This has a body that goes on it. It's right here. It's a big old hard body. It says Lord on the front instead of Ford. For those who are not regular followers, we have a vehicle in the fleet called Lord Pentabee. Lord Pentabee is the dedicated Class 1 tire testing vehicle, and he has gone through multiple iterations. He began with many of the parts seen here, the body, the bumpers, a lot of the things, and then we decided somewhat arbitrarily that to test Class 1 we need a shorter wheelbase. So he was reimagined, removing his, there's his battery, he was reimagined removing his Stealth XF gearbox and replacing it with a Stealth X. He's had a number of things done to convert him into a Class 1 testing vehicle. And the next time, should you return, the next time you see him, he won't even have these SSD Diamond Pros. He's going to have Boom Racing BRX 70s because I want more tuck on the tire. So a lot of here used to be here, and at a point we will have replaced 80 to 90% of what he started as, because we're building a test platform. So we have a lot of pieces left over. The IFS1 was replaced by an IFS2 because the IFS1 does experience a little bit of it does the thing that independent suspension does. That's not necessarily a negative. Is this a hardcore crawler? I don't think so. Is it kind of a do-it-all? I do think so. We have replaced the terrible metal spur gear that comes on these gearboxes with a Kimbrough. If you listen closely, there's a little because we have so much droop in the rear, that drive shaft is about at the most extreme angle it can be at. I can correct the rear uppers, clock this back a little more. Maybe it's not necessary. It doesn't look right. You put it on the bench, well, it's starting to get used to its own weight. But then you bolt this on, and I do mean that literally. You bolt this on, if it will let me, and that weight kind of stabilizes out. So this is what happens. I have come to a conclusion, and I argued with myself about it for some not inconsiderable amount of time, which is, I like driving them. I like testing them. I like doing all the things with the toy cars. But I think the thing that I like the most is building them. Whether it be a mishmash, hodgepodge of leftovers, which is what this guy is, or whether it be fabricating something partly from scratch. So, this is the new... It's no disrespect intended to those who are particularly devoted to a certain thing. It's a bit of a Holy Ghost, as we have a lot of pieces that were takeoffs from other things, combined with pieces sent in by, and I think this applies to many, viewers like yourself. This is the circle of crawling. This is what we're trying to constantly keep that swirling. People send things in, I send things out. I like building them. I think this is pretty cool. I think it might handle okay. Is it going to require a substantial investment from whoever gets it? I don't think it's going to require whatever that person decides to put into it. I would not be able to survive with that speed control. But I could leave it to rot in a box, or I could send it off, and maybe somebody is going to hand this off to a friend who's never driven one before, or one of their children, or one of their neighbor's children, or somebody who's like, that looks neat, I want to try that someday. And they'll go, I have just the thing for you. So I don't want to sound like we're Mr. Rogering it and inviting everyone to be neighbors, but God, wouldn't it be cool if everybody was just a little bit more neighborly? I'm not saying that I'm like this holier than thou movement where, oh, look at me, I give things away. If you feel good when you give things away, give things away. If it doesn't feel good, if it doesn't pass your test, if you don't know who that is, find out. If it doesn't pass the test, if it doesn't make you feel good, then maybe don't do that. I enjoy giving things away. I enjoy when people post photos of the things that I've built and sent away that are now in Alaska and Birmingham, England, and Norway and Spain and all around the world, because it feels good, man. It feels good. So we're going to take this out and we're going to smush it around. We're going to try to go up a rock or two. We're going to see what kind of speed we've got. 1350 on the spur pinion, which is, let's say 13. 26, 39, 52. If it was a 52, it'd be 4-1, so just under 4-1. It might be a little on the snappy side, but maybe it won't be. Also, we've got IFS. I have already built one and sent it away. It lives in Norway. That was IFS and trailing arm rear, which later became the Zool 2. I built that one about, 8 or 9 months before the Zool 2. This is about a year after that one was built. So we will see how the final, in my hands, the final rebirth of the Lord. Let's take it out. It's a beautiful morning, afternoon, could be evening, could be late into the night where you are. Again, time exists for us, time doesn't exist for the rest of you. I will meet you about 100 feet that way. So we have completed the drive back, which was a hoot, I would like to point out. An absolute hoot. There is a real FMS K5, the FCX10 K5. There's a real vibe of that here. Kind of, it's a little bit wallowy. The body kind of rolls around. It doesn't have that like pinpoint control because it's a rebadged Hobby Wing 1040 or 1060. I can never remember which. But if you're going to run a brushed motor, you just run a Hobby Wing 1080. There's really no other, there are no other choices. There are other brushed controllers, but they are like, the Radial Link Cool 9030 is neat because you can run super high turn motors with 4S. Neat. But like, if you're actually going to sit down and run a brushed motor, you just run a 1080. The tires have like just the right amount of grip for what this vehicle does. It is lacking in some of that throttle control, and that's all speed control. You can hear the motor kind of give and take. We can almost get like right there. These are the X2 S3 RC four-wheel drive Goodyear Wranglers. I've got to get, it's much like when I bring out something that's class 1, I've got to get myself into the class 1 mindset. Right here, I've got to get myself into the IFS mindset. This is true. This is the closest I've seen. The FCX10 has got a bit more capability in its raw form because it's not independent suspension. This thing was 3-legging it most of the way back here. You get a nice tight turn and it just lifts one off the ground. And the springing might be a little on the soft side, but it's not terrible. This is another one. Hey, drag brake holding. That's I don't think that was a mechanical. This is, and I've striven for this. I know to some what you're seeing is, okay. So when I made my first, boy, that's his spot. When I made my first foray into leaf springs, I got a Marlin, an RC four-wheel drive TF2 Marlin. And I felt like I had gone too far. Not knowing anything about leaf springs, only having set up 3 links and 4 links, it was a jump. But at the same time, I did not harbor in me the desire to like long travel, this kind of the spinny shackles, all that stuff. A lot of the joy of driving leafs is the limitation brought about by those leaves. It's voluntarily handicapping yourself, because even if a leaf is like super long traveling hauls, all that stuff, a 4-link is still gonna smack it around, right? So I kind of strove to build something in between. Like, there are plenty of rigs that are either 4-link all the way around, 3-link front, 4-link rear, that are just not capable for whatever number of reasons, whether it be bad geometry, whether it be poor componentry, whatever it is. But those, you feel like, I gotta throw money at this to make it do the things that I want it to do. This feels like voluntary limitations. The body is grotesquely heavy compared to slapping a piece of Lexan on there. That body is in the pound and a half, 24, 28 ounces, I want to say it weighs something like. So we're going to have a sprung to unsprung ratio that is not geared towards performance. But this can do the things. I am blown away at the amount of drag brake that we have out of that Vanquish setup. The trigger feel on the trigger feel on the initial tip in of that speed control, though, my goodness, there's just nothing. I don't know if we can get the twin focus. Let's see if we can. You get like a quarter of the trigger pull, and there's nothing. The first time you ever drove a car, and I'm appealing to the sensibilities of those a little bit older right now. The first time you got into a car that had a hydraulically assisted clutch in it. So I'm not only speaking of manuals, I'm speaking of, or when you go from a direct manual gearbox to either one with linkages or one with cables, and suddenly you have this feeling of detachment. That's what I get from this speed control. I can't tell when the throttle's gonna tip in. I can't tell when I can do this. The dig is chef's kiss, because we get a substantial amount of camming from the universals in the front end because of the kind of wonkiness of the IFS1 geometry. So when you dig for a hard turn, it kind of hops its way. It hops around. If we had any XS2 tire, you see that little, it grabs and then falls? It is this perfect combination of just not enough. But you know what? I feel like it lives in the character of it. It might be a little soft on the insert as well. J Concepts medium, a little soft. I mean, here's what it's supposed to do. It's supposed to spark joy. And more often than not, sadly, for whatever reason, this is wildly individual. Like, the way something makes you feel, there's a visceral element. Sometimes the whole, I just realized that the front, I'll get back to my thought in a second. The front wheel track is about 10 millimeters narrower than the rear wheel track. I wonder, I think I do. I was gonna say, I wonder if I have any 6mm hubs. With the IFS, do we have enough thread to move the fronts out at all? No, a tiny bit. That's something that would probably bother me, the front being narrower than the rear. But if I can narrow up the rear, because it is like, it's got that sweet cinnamon roll to it. We get about the same turny each direction. You never know what's gonna strike your fancy. You think you know. And then you either try something new or you put a twist on something you already know and you're like, oh. All of these parts have been used before somewhere else in some other fashion. I've already given away one set of wheels identical to these. And they're going again. Partially because they use that the elder RC four-wheel drive style beadlock ring on the back that's flat and really only fits with certain hubs, axles, etc. And they go on Element really well. And I also think with the sundowners on there and that kind of goldy bronze that we've got, coppery gold, with the metallic-y yellow that we've got on the wheels, I think it goes. I think it looks nice. This is voluntary limitation. This is a lesser version of Going Leafs. That was what I had hoped for in my first foray into IFS. We still have one other vehicle in the fleet with IFS. This is more fun. I don't know what I have to do to my trail runner to make it as fun as this one. I don't understand. They are far more similar than they are. Is it just the heavy body? I don't know. Because I do subscribe to the notion that something given away without feeling isn't really giving it away. It's just discarding it. I believe that. And that is why I try to get one of these little bits of it came from the live stream installed. We've got that little front. Whee! One of the strengths of really inexpensive speed controls where you can't limit any throttle numbers, there's no adjustability. There's two jumpers that install in this. One is to select LiPo or NIM, and one is to select, do you want forward brake reverse? Do you want forward reverse? And then there's a third one. And you put no jumper in it for FR to be able to do that. The dig is wholly unnecessary, but also at the same time, I feel like we kind of need it. These tires have just about enough grip. Almost. They don't quite have enough. Again, the drag brake, very surprising. You have to, it's a little bit bouncery, and I think what feels best for me, where I sit upon the bucket chair, is that I felt like this was not the body nor the wheelbase to give the fair shake to Class 1 tires. And I think I was right, because, oh, Ruby's on Class 1 tires. Is that what it is? This IFS 4-link rear combo needs 475s? Is that what's happening right now? Or what, am I learning? I didn't get up this morning to learn. It is, oh. Any little amount, honestly, I can't tell you for sure. But any amount of grip change, whether it be more or less, I don't know what that would do to the experience. What I do know is that this guy is a hoot and a half. And I don't know if I would change the tires. Were he staying here, were this going to remain as a resident, I don't know if I would change the tires. I think the tires that kind of have this almost enough grip, like when a tire is an abject failure, it can't even make that push. It can't push up over that lip. We've got to use it. We've got to use all the tire. Get a little more throttle into it. Come on, get those sliders off. Oh, I'm telling you, as someone who at least thinks, perhaps delusionally, that they can tell the difference between an easier line and a more difficult line, getting those hard lines, I'm doing this behind that, those hard lines, getting those hard lines feels good, man. But at many times, you're also approaching that crawler's paradox, which is you're attempting to outfit a vehicle in such a way that the vehicle just does it. It just murders, kills. I have several rigs that are of that spectrum, right? Where as you're getting through that line, you're asking yourself, how much of this is me and how much of this is the stuff? That it's really LCG, it's got a ton of unsprung weight, it's got a lot of power and a super servo and sticky, icky, ooh-wee tires under it and all those things. That little pull-up right there out of the dirt of it, that feels good, man. Because the Holy Ghost here, the Lord Pent to be re-envisioned, is not helping you very much. Straight axles, but it's not like it rides low. This is the type of terrain right here. Oh my God, we stalled it out. We stalled it out. You will have to get up a lot. The situations where you can self-right this are fewer than the situations where you can't. There's that three-wheel motion. Oh. What it is. Oh, I forgot. I have dig. I don't see that body and think dig. Oh, come on. There you go, guy. Oh. This is the most imperfect perfection. This is truly a joy to drive. And I have wheeled some things that are more capable than this, but significantly less entertaining. And I have driven things that are less capable than this, and yet somehow even more entertaining. That is why when I say that something has an FMS vibe, that is a compliment. Because the 41 Willys and the FJ40 from FMS are two of my favorite remote control vehicles ever. And they absolutely do not get there by their capabilities, right? Pure performance you can hold in one hand, and beautiful things you can hold in the other. And sometimes those hands are very far apart. Go look at a Sporty. Some people think beauty, truly, in the eye of the beholder. The Holy Ghost here, the bits and bobs of the Lord, put together in another format. It's kind of a sweet spot for me. Now that is very individual. Some may feel different. And there's no condemnation of that at all. Not possible. You can stall out the motor. He could use a little bit more weight up in the front. Oh. Recall back to when he was on the bench and the battery is on the slider. There is enough room to put that exact battery tray that I've fitted to the vehicle. There is enough room to put that battery tray in front of the servo. So, just FYI. I think all need be done betwixt now, the peripheral now, not now, but not now, is see about pushing the front track out about 3 millimeters per side, 2 to 3 millimeters per side, tucking the rear end in about, I'm going to kind of try to meet him in the middle. Tuck the rear in about 2 millimeters per side, get a nice even track. I will lengthen the rear uppers, kick those back a little so we get a little bit better of an angle on that rear pumpkin. But other than that, I think I would leave it as it is. This is one of those things. This is why I believe that the world in which we live today is a predicament. My wife has a 2025 model year car, and for me to say that seems insane. Never in my life. My oldest memories of vehicles is my father had a Datsun 510, which seemed like a death trap even at that young age. The 20, I call her car space car. It knows what the speed limit is on the street that you're on. It knows everything. And here's the problem. You put somebody in that, and they don't need to know anything. If somebody starts off, if someone has zero crawling experience, and you put them behind the wheel of this, whee, they're starting off in that Datsun 510. Then as they get anything more capable, they're going to have a bigger box of tools from which to build on. I believe in voluntary handicapping. I believe in giving things away. I believe that there is nearly infinite potential in this, in what we're doing here as a collective. I believe that there's an infinite capacity in people. Again, I'm not trying, it's not all sunshine and rainbows, everybody, but what sits upside down before you is brought in huge part in the notion that the Crawler Canyon is PBS for toy cars that drive on rocks. Is made possible by the support and participation of viewers like yourself. Giveaways are limited to members of the channel because we got to keep that circle turning. If nothing's coming in, nothing can go out. That's how that works. So I look forward to seeing you all in all of the things that we do in the future. We live stream virtually every Friday at noon Pacific time. Adjust that to wherever you are on the globe as necessary. I hope to see you in all of the things. And in between now and when we meet again, I sincerely hope that you one and all do your very best. Have a good one, everybody. The Holy Ghost upside down here in the warmth of the sun. What a beautiful day. I hope you all have a beautiful day. We look forward to seeing you next time. He doesn't quite have enough. You know, give me like 30 minutes, I could get out of that.